Well, earlier when I was attempting to do some threading, the problem is I didn't grind a proper thread form tool, so that's why my threads stink. But I decided I was just going to clean up this, and I was going through the miscellaneous holders that I've got, and I grabbed this one, mounted it in my Loris, and adjusted it to be on center. This is unusual. It's a Valinite, and it uses these triangle-shaped inserts that have curves to them. Now, judging by the look of it, I don't see any reason why I can't put the other large triangle inserts with holes in them on this also. I've got several of these holders that will take these large triangle inserts. The problem is the shanks are too tall on the majority of them. But for some reason, this is an unusual one. It's a thinner one, and it's a drop one, and I kind of like that because I was talking about how this CA tool post almost seemed just a little bit too high, and I always had to adjust these way down. This one actually seems like the holder's right where it should be, right in the middle. So anyways, so let's see what kind of that's a cutter that was on there when I got the holder, so it's a little used cutter. I'm just curious. I also like how this has got kind of like it reaches around at about a 45-degree angle almost. Well, not quite. But this holder will allow me to get in close to a shoulder like that. So that's kind of neat. Not bad. I set up the auto stop to make my life easier. I just remembered I want to set my spring calipers so that I can just use it for a quick check when I'm getting close. Things were going swell until I pushed it. Well, I'm learning a valuable lesson, and that is that the carbide can be very unforgiving. And I just rotated this to another point. See if we can't get back to what we were doing so nicely before I got greedy. What happened was I shifted the sub gearbox up one whole level and forgot to move the other lever, so I had increased the feed to some crazy amount and crashed right into it. And I think I damaged the tip doing that. All right, ready to try and cut this thread again. All right, so I went back and read more about cutting threads, watched some videos about cutting threads, watched videos about and read more about thread forming tools and things like that. Realized that my previous attempt to cut threads that was failing miserably was because I was using a turning insert, and the insert has a radius on the end that basically was just destroying the threads. So I'm sure some people get a real laugh out of that. Anyways, so I went back and I got another piece of stock. This started out full 2-inch. I turned this down. Okay, so major diameter for cutting 1.5 inch 16 thread, which is what I want to cut. Well, anybody will tell you that you go into your machinery handbook and there's a handy dandy table in there that tells you what the limit is for major diameter. There's a range, so you get a little bit of a tolerance in there. What I've got right here is 1.493, so I'm 7 thousandths under 1.5 inch. I was actually, believe it or not, aiming for spot on 1.5 inch and didn't do it. To make matters worse, I've actually got 14985. So for some reason I'm only 1/1000th, right? Yeah, 1.5 thousandths under here. 14965, and that's 4.5 thousandths. So it looks like I've managed to turn a taper. 0.495, 5 thousandths. So I'm 5 thousandths under over here, and about 1/1000th under at the very end there. So I've managed to turn a taper. So unfortunately, I did something wrong. Now it could be that, well, what I'm assuming it is that I've never set this lathe up properly. In other words, I've got those machinist levels, more than one that I've purchased, and have never thrown one on here and actually leveled the lathe. And if the bed is twisted because it's not level, if there's a twist in the bed, then that could explain it. The other possibility is I did notice some movement in my, I think my clearance and my bearings is too high. So I guess it's entirely possible that this whole spindle is moving. Let's see, the cutting force is being applied because it's a rotational force. Essentially, as the cutter's cutting, it's going to want to lift up on this spindle, and then of course there's force being pushed this way, so it's going to kind of push it up and over. Is what it's going to be trying to do. Well, that feels rock solid when I do that, but I know for a fact when I was watching it cut that intermittent cut, I could see it lifting the whole thing. So I think what's going on here is I've got too much play in my bearing, and I might have been able. What might be happening is it might actually be causing a problem. I don't know. Oh, so anyways, the major and minor diameters. The problem is the tables in the machinist handbook do not show 1.5 16. It shows a couple of other ones. I forgot what, but no 1.5 16. And then when I went online and tried to find a threading chart with that 1.5 16 on there, I couldn't find one that showed all of the information. It was just like parts of it. So I'm not quite sure how I want to handle this now, because I also don't know the exact minor diameter that I'd be shooting for. I did finally come up with something to use as a thread forming tool. Best I could come up with was I found this this old Armstrong holder that I had. This was a freebie that came with the Atlas lathe, and it doesn't fit the Atlas lathe ironically, but it was in the area with it when I got the lathe. It was on the bench or underneath, and this has got one of these thread forming cutters on it, which if you've never seen one of these, normally this goes quite a bit around, and what it is this is all cutting edge right here, and what you do is as it wears you just grind it. And what you're supposed to do, according to what I've been reading, the top of the thread forming tool should be pretty much flat. So all you're supposed to do with this tool is bring it up to the grinding wheel and grind it flat, and that will give you a new cutting edge. Now, the last person who used this and ground it actually ground a side rake to it, or a top rake, I should say. It's that top surface is kind of tilted like this. So the leading edge, cutting edge for the threading, is the high edge. So I don't necessarily think that's going to mess me up, and I may end up finding out that that's wrong, but for now anyways. Let's see, what do I want to do first? Let me get my little thread gauge in there. Oh, so the reason why I'm using this thread forming tool is because I checked and I don't have any carbide inserts that are thread forming inserts. Except maybe, possibly, I did find 3 or 4 of these little triangle inserts that I have. And these are the only inserts I have that actually have a point that comes to a sharp point. In other words, there's like barely any radius on the end of this insert. And it is 60 degree, so I think this might be a threading insert. Problem is, I don't have any holder to hold this. I'd have to make a holder to hold this. It's kind of a funky insert too. It's a triangle. It's got this bevel on the back edge, only on one side. So I don't think these other two corners right here, which actually have a little bit of a radius on them, are actually made to be cutters. In other words, I don't think it's like other triangle inserts where it's made to be able to be just flipped around for additional cutting edges. So this is a very funky little insert that I have, and I may never end up getting to use this because I just don't have a holder for it, and I can't identify it. There's no markings on it whatsoever. So, in case anybody was curious, give you a really good look at this insert. So you can see there's a tiny bit of a radius on this corner and the other corner there, but this is the business end of it. That's got barely any radius on it. And the reason why I suspect it's the business end is because the opposite end on the bottom, it's got this chamfer. And you know what? I think I do see something there written on this. That's funny. Looking at the LCD screen of the camera, I see something there that I couldn't see when I was trying to identify this before. Nah, I don't think that's writing. I think it's just scratches or something. Well, anyways. I don't have a holder for this anyways. Otherwise, I would probably try and see. So you can get a good look at how sharp that is right there. Matter of fact, I've got my gauge right here. I'd say that could cut a thread. The hell do I know? Alright, I think I got it that way. Alright, that'll work. Alright. Alright. Let me just rethink what I did here. I've got it in lowest speed and back gear. I've got my quick change gearbox set to the 18 threads per inch. Did I say 18? I meant 16. Oh, you know what I did? I forgot. I gotta go look it up. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. It's 1.5 16, and that is in the machinery handbook. I'm hoping I have the right table here. Standard series and selected combinations of unified screw threads. And then right there, 1.5 -16 UN, class 2A fit. I think class 2 means it's a close fit, but it's not like class 4. I guess there is no class 3. I don't know. Class 4 is a tight fit. Class 1 is, I guess, a loose fit. So maximum diameter is 1.4984, and minimum is 1.489. So what did I say I turned that to? I know it's got a taper, but... Alright, so 1.497 to 1.491 is what I'm measuring on my little tapered mess. 1.498 is the max. 1.489 is the minimum. So I should be good. It's too bad it didn't taper the other way. If it actually started out smaller and got larger, then it would be a tapered fit, and it would just tighten up as I screwed it in, theoretically. But it's the other way around. C'est la vie. I don't have a wire set, so I can't do the 3-wire method to measure my threads when I cut them. What I do have is I have this thing, this little thing here. It's this little triangle deals. Okay. Unfortunately, though, chart, this is probably what I was thinking of when I said that I couldn't find that thread in the chart. I was probably thinking of the chart that's in this box with this thread gauge. So you get these two little triangles right here, okay? What you do is you put the two triangles on the threads, and then you put a micrometer across that, and you get that measurement. You compare it to this chart. So the chart actually tells me that. So for 1.5 inch, it shows 6 TPI, 12, and 18. You see, it doesn't have 16. But I'm wondering if I could, let's see, 16. 16 is closer to 18 than it is to 12. I'm wondering if I could get away with using that. Although, I could also compare what the, see, it says basic pitch diameter. So the basic pitch diameter, alright, hold on. So I wonder if that basic pitch diameter is the same or very close. 1.5, 18. The pitch diameter is, well, I don't understand this. Why is there 2 columns for basic? Oh, okay, because this next column is measured over the triangles. So the basic pitch diameter for 1.5, 18 is 1.4639. And for 1.5, 16, it's 1.4578 to 1.4526. 463. Call that 464. Call that 458. Well, that's like 6 thousandths difference. It's actually quite a bit different. Maybe the 1.5, 12 is closer. 452 to 457. Nope. Nope. It's in there somewhere. Oh. Eh.